Hello.
Hi.
Hi, this is Chris.
Okay. Hi, Chris.
Hi. We'll also have Tim and Zane joining us if they're not here already.
Yeah, Tim's on the line.
Okay.
Zane's on the line as well.
Okay, great.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so we thought it might make sense just to have a call to discuss the most recent correspondence that you sent over, Chris. So as it's drafted currently, the notice to ICO participants that you're proposing to post on the website isn't reflective of the conversations that we've had to date. I'll provide one example. We don't know that we would agree that you've been having discussions with Launchpad since late 2016 on the issue of the ICO. I mean, we certainly had the discussion regarding the peer-to-peer equity system that you were proposing to build in terms of allowing issuers to use blank tokens in place of shares, but we don't know that we've had specific discussions regarding the ICO and whether or not it would comply with securities law. So we're not comfortable with the notice as it's drafted. And on top of that, there's a lot of
Sorry, just to clarify, not that we don't know. We actually, we obviously had the meeting. We were all there. There was no discussion of an ICO in December. So the ICO has actually come to our attention through others.
Well, I guess my response for that would be, we're not saying we discussed the ICO in late 2016. We're saying we discussed the Equibit system. But I do very clearly recall presenting our interpretation of what a blank versus an authorized Equibit would be under securities law. You did not express an opinion at that point, but asked that we, seek counsel, which we had already done. And so, based on those conclusions, that's why we proceeded the way we did. It seemed as though there was no disagreement, and the Equibit system it's inseparable from the ICO, because the ICO is just a mining operation, and everybody who downloads and runs the Equibit application will be doing the same thing.
Okay, Chris, let's just, number one, in December, if anything, and I don't have my notes in front of me, the question you posed was actually a corporate law question, not a securities question. So I actually think, the ICO discussion has been what we've been having this week. So if anything, this notice needs to focus on the ICO question. And I guess from that perspective, we asked questions. Now, if you've determined it's a security and you want to put this release out, you can't be blaming the regulators for it. We're
not, this isn't about blame, but we have to be honest that we've been talking with OSC.
About
we can't not mention this because it's material to what's happening now.
I disagree.
And we understand the distinction between the blank Equibits and the Equibits that would have certain issuer information ascribed to them. That's the discussion that was had in late 2016. What I think we're focusing on now in the discussions that we've been having very recently is about the raising of money through an initial coin offering from potentially retail investors in Canada. Those are two separate issues. One is the peer-to-peer system that you're building and how blank Equibits will fit into that system. The other separate question that is currently up for discussion is the raising of funds from retail investors.
Yes, but like I said before, we can't separate those two issues because mining is the ICO. So if an Equibit is a security, then anybody who downloads and runs the Equibit application would have to register as a securities dealer.
No.
The statement mining is the ICO. I would disagree with that. The raising of funds from investors is the ICO.
Yeah, the miners are doing the exact same thing. They perform a proof of work, they get some Equibits, and then they sell them.
But that's not what we're talking about here, because the discussion that we had on the phone last time was that the purpose of the initial coin offering, at least part of the purpose in raising funds, was to build a software that would allow initial backers of Equibit to use that software to mine additional Equibit. Is that correct?
It is the purpose of the ICO to sell Equibit so that we can complete the system.
Okay, but is every investor or every person that provided funding for this platform, did you, as part of your process, find out if they're miners and how they're going to help your system?
Oh, many people have already stated that they're going to be mining the system.
But that's not my question. My question is, you've got 381 purchasers, and the question is, what is the expectation of each of those purchasers?
To have access to the system, possibly to make capital gains, just like they would with any other scarce commodity, and support the system if they just they want to see it introduced. And then also, if they want to mine it further, that of course is another reason why they would want to. Because of course, if we never get it launched, they never get to mine.
Can I just cut in here for a second? This is Dan. So back to the question I think Chris had asked in the email about what the commission would consider an acceptable ICO. It sounds as if the main concern really is that part of the funds are being used towards completing and launching the system. I think the system, Chris can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's very nearly complete. Is that correct?
Yeah, like we've already mined the first block and gotten that 1 million units, and then we turned the whole thing off, started over, did it again. We've done it about half a dozen times, so we can absolutely deliver those units.
Sorry, when you say deliver those units, what does that mean?
Deliver the ones that have been purchased.
So yeah, it's the same way that a Bitcoin, I guess, would be delivered, correct? It would go to their virtual wallet?
Yeah.
And what can they do with that today?
Well, a blank Equibit, you can't do a whole lot other than actually use the network. So cryptocurrencies are best described as an exclusive, limited, transferable software license.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key difference here that we would also like to stress is that, unlike Bitcoin, the blank or null Equibits give the person acquiring those Equibits the ability to eventually fill in or cryptographically sign and include the issuer information, and then send or use that. They could then transfer that to their shareholders, and then obviously that would be treated as a share. So the value that would be derived from the Equibit would be from the issuer information in the authorized Equibit. The initial purchaser of the null Equibit would be the issuer, and so they wouldn't be taking the benefit of the increase in value. It would be the eventual purchaser of the authorized Equibit, who would be similar to a shareholder.
So are you saying that the purchasers in the ICO are issuers then?
Well, that's the intended purpose of the null Equibits, is to be used as part of the system. It's a software, and it gives them the ability to access the system.
Yeah. So I'll give you another example. So Ethereum, I think hopefully we're all familiar with Ethereum. Ethereum has a token on it called Ether, and many people have Ether. But most of them don't have an application on the Ethereum network. But if I did want to put an application and run it on the Ethereum platform, I need to get some Ether. So the concept is very similar. If I am an issuer and I want to register my securities on the Equibit network, I need to get some Equibits.
Okay, and I understand that piece, but the question that I think Amy asked, are the 381 purchasers issuers necessarily? Because I think the answer is no, but you guys have the information.
Well, I mean, the primary purpose of the Equibits is in order to allow them access to the system. I think what Chris was trying to say was that, what the actual purpose is behind it, that, someone purchased them for is not something that we're aware of. But the primary purpose, the intended purpose, the reason for the Equibit system is to issue authorized Equibits in this manner. Yeah. And so in that form, it's sort of, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that and say, an ICO is more of building a seed user base, because all of these peer-to-peer networks are built on network effects. And if we build it and no one shows up, then nobody will show up. It's like Facebook. People go to Facebook because people are in Facebook. If nobody is an Equibet, regardless of how great a system it is, it's never going to go anywhere if there isn't interest from people who want to use it.
Okay, so please, you're going to have to break this down a little bit more in terms of, I give you, let's say, $1,000. What do I get? Who am I? And what am I using whatever I get for? Because I think that's what we're missing, because now you're suggesting that the initial coin offering investors are going to be issuers who are going to be using the system to issue tokens to investors. But that's not what was communicated during the last call, when we were told that the initial coin offering investors would be receiving the ability to mine additional Equibit. So I think you're really going to have to clarify to us who these purchasers are.
Yeah.
The purchasers are anyone who wants to use the system. The purchasers are users, so you can't do any transaction on the Equibit system without having some Equibits first. It's like if I go, I can open up a Bitcoin wallet, but it's not going to be that interesting if I don't have any Bitcoins, because I'm still essentially locked out of the network. Nobody's going to process my transaction if I can't incentivize them to do so. And the only way to do that is to have a token of value on the blockchain that person who's giving up their processing power, which those are called miners, that's the reason why they show up and do what they do, is because people are going to be paying them the blank Equibits in order to get their transaction added to the blockchain.
Yeah, and I mean, I think... Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, all I was going to add was that it's not like your typical, I guess, cryptocurrency in that respect, right? There's a big difference between what EDC is trying to do versus the other cryptocurrencies out there. And I think part of the issue here might have been just some miscommunication on the last call. But it's not as if the distribution, the ICO is a distribution of crypto equity. It's not intended to be anything like that. It's intended to be the sale of a software product that allows access to the system.
Right, but there are people that have tried to say it's software, and I guess that was the purpose of our call, to find out who these purchasers are, how many there are they accredited investors, are they not? It seems like the only thing that's being collected is email addresses. So, to get the legal analysis in terms of, because obviously, to me, the white paper is talking about what I call the finished system. It is not really setting out someone who's buying an ICO today what they can expect out of it. Like what,
the ICO buyers are buying software. So the white paper is there to describe what the software is, and then we have another document that describes the terms of the ICO. And there's pages upon pages saying this does not provide you with any rights or interests in EDC. You are only buying access to software.
Well, you're buying an Equibit. And the
Yeah, that's what an Equibit represents, is access to the network.
Okay, but potentially you could have, like, you don't know if you're only collecting an address, but the 381, there may be people on there that are buying thinking that they will be able to sell it at a higher price at one point. Like, they only are
possible, but people do that on all sorts of things. They do that with Beanie Babies and G.I. Joes and art and music.
Hockey cards.
Yeah.
I mean, the main point is that that's not intended to be the primary purpose, right? Like, that would just make it a regular cryptocurrency. That's not the purpose of it.
And you have me all over the internet saying I do not want speculators buying this ICO, which is probably why I haven't raised multiple millions of dollars.
Okay, can we just take it back to where we were a few days ago? Can we, rather than having conversations can we just get your legal analysis, what is intended here? Because right now we're dealing with, we're looking at white papers that are saying one thing. We did have a discussion in December on a totally different issue, and here we are today. There are close to 400 purchasers that have bought into this, and I'm not sure it's clear to them what they've bought into. I hadn't seen the separate document you're talking about. I had only seen the white paper. So is there any reason why we can't?
They have to confirm that they've read and agreed to the terms and conditions in order to make the purchase.
And what are the terms and conditions?
Well, like an 8-9 page document. It's linked on the website right next to the white paper.
Right. I think the posting of information on a website and having someone click a button saying they read and confirm that they've understood that document is, I mean, that's fine that you put it up there, but obviously we're having this conversation because it's quite possible that you've got retail investors who are putting their money into this and who haven't read the white paper or who have read the white paper and who have misunderstood it. And I mean, that's...
So how do we address that concern?
I think you address the concern, number one, going back to what Pat said, by at least providing us with a proper analysis, because I'm going to be perfectly honest, and I won't speak for Pat, but I'm still not entirely clear on who you're selling to and what their expectation is in terms of what they're getting. And if it's difficult for me to understand, I don't think that posting of 2 lengthy documents on your website and having someone click a button to confirm that they've read and understood is sufficient for us to, at this point, say, we're fine with what you're doing. We just like the opportunity to understand what analysis you have and where you're coming from.
So when you say legal analysis, what are you looking for exactly? Because, like, are you expecting us to go through the test?
We told you during the last call that you should be at the very least, looking at the investment contract test.
Yeah.
So that
we can already provide you with one of those that was done by a U.S. firm.
In relation to the Equibit?
In relation to all ICOs.
Well, you just said that your Equibit system was very distinguishable from other ICOs, so we would like to see it in relation to your Equibit system. I mean, I'm not sure where the lack of communication is coming from, but I thought we made that very clear during our last call.
Well, a blank Equibit is just like any other non-security blockchain token.
Okay, you know what?
So
I think at this point, I think we really do need to have something in writing. And it sounds to me like, there are legal opinions, but the legal opinions will depend on what the expectations are of the people going in and on the platform. So, and then at that point, we're happy to discuss with you if it's determined that it is an investment contract, kind of what are the things that need to be built into the system. But again, saying I accept when you haven't actually clicked on the key conditions, and I don't know what the key conditions are because I haven't had a chance to read the 8-9 pages in terms of conditions. are quite different. So can we, I realize, it's Friday, 4:08. We didn't ask you to put up this notice. We asked kind of for the legal analysis because I think we are getting kind of a different perspective today than we did the other day. So is there any reason why we can't wait for the legal opinion?
Sorry, just to cut in there. I think in terms of our analysis, we can definitely provide you what we've mentioned on the call and expand on that. The key points and features of the EDC, the Equibit system that are responsive to the definition. So we can definitely provide you that. I mean, obviously, it would take us a little bit of time to get that out, but in terms of a more immediate solution, based on your email, I think that's where that was the impetus for the notice and the suspension.
Sorry, which email?
I think it's Amy's email it's Tim Moran speaking, from Wednesday the 22nd. Her
That was the first email?
Yeah, her last line was, any further issuances of coins over the next 10 days will be viewed in the context of this email and the various communications we have had with you to date. So we are trying to understand what that meant, but we took it as being stop your offering.
Yeah. And we, just to be clear, we don't want to do anything obviously outside securities laws or create any issues where we would like to work together with the OSC to make sure that everything is compliant. And so that was part of the reason why we, our EDC had come up with this suspension.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I thought it was something. Okay.
I absolutely want the approval of regulators on this system. So that was one of the big reasons why we reached out to you to set up that first meeting, because we're starting to tell people about the kind of value it's going to bring and just how easy it's going to make your lives in terms of overseeing the capital markets here.
Right, and I'm not disagreeing that there's obviously potential for all of these for technologies to do that. And the only thing I'd have to say, Chris, and is the discussion we had in December was quite different than the one we had this week. But if this notice is strictly in response to the email, I'm not prepared at this point to obviously, if you're worried about enforcement, this is not us taking this to enforcement. This is a novel area. We're trying to understand your ICO. There are ICOs that aren't securities, but there are also ones that are. And if there are, you just need to be building in the investor protection. So can we work with that?
Yeah, no, that sounds great, actually.
That's fine. I'm contractually obligated to put this notice out, though. It's in the terms. So, what's your suggestion for remodeling that sentence?
Well, I mean, if you want to talk about the fact that, what have you got here? Sorry, let me just go back to it. I mean, that's fine, the press release, that's a fact. And then if you strike the second sentence, because I don't think we're trying to stop your business. We're just saying, provide us with what, did you turn your mind to this? And we're just waiting for the legal analysis. So if you struck, say, the last line in the first paragraph, and then I don't think it's our job to give guidance. It's really, the onus is on you to tell us how you think this is not a security. So I would actually take out the guidance from Canadian securities regulators, because first of all, I can't speak for everyone else, and I don't think it's our role. I think we have raised some questions with you, and if you want to stop business as a business decision, that's up to you, but it can't be that we are telling you cease trade.
Well, that's actually quite helpful, I think. Chris, we need to think about, if the OSC is not actually saying to us, stop your trade, then do we need the press release at this time? we should think about that because it could have implications from a press point of view as well.
Right. And honestly, if the press is going to come to me, I don't have your information to, not that I would share it anyways, but right now, you have not satisfied us one way or another whether this is a security or not. So that was the purpose of our call. And then if it is determined that it is a security, then you need to be thinking about what information you're collecting from your purchasers / investors or users or whatever. But I don't want to, I don't think it's enough to say that there's a legal opinion out there that's saying all ICOs are not securities, because I've run into a number of other legal opinions that clearly say it is. So that was the purpose of our call.
No, I don't want to. I want you to think I disagree with that. I actually, in fact, do. But every offering I've ever seen that was termed an ICO was actually an offering of equity in either a fund or a company itself. And those very obviously are offside, but that's not what I wanted to do. I've worked in the securities industry. I've been the CFO of a stock brokerage. I know exactly when I need to write a prospectus.
Yeah. So what we're asking for at this point in time, this is a new novel area. You've said it's an ICO. But there is information on your website that may indicate to someone that they're buying it for, not as a minor. And we'd like to see your analysis. And we're happy to work with you afterwards, but, this type of notice is not helpful.
Okay, so just to be clear, we're not being asked to shut down the ICO, but only to discuss further what that is and what the Equibit system is.
Our purpose of our call, I'm going to say it one more time, was to ask you whether you had turned your mind to whether this ICO is a security and to provide us with a legal analysis. And we asked for certain information regarding the people that have already bought or purchased on your system to date.
Okay. Actually, so to that, so I think you had sent a question about the breakdown of the total funds received.
In terms of Bitcoin versus U.S. dollar versus Canadian.
Yeah, so that is on the website. We disclose that in real time to everyone.
Okay. Do you have that off the top of your head in terms of about how much is Bitcoin?
Yeah, just give me a second. I'll pull up the site. We got 123,088 U.S. dollars and 380.5 Bitcoins.
Okay, so primarily Bitcoin.
Yeah. Now, some of those U.S. dollars were actually paid in Canadian dollars, but everything is valued in U.S. dollars, so we only put that number on there. If you still need the Canadian dollar, the exact Canadian dollar amounts, I'm going to have to dig through our records.
No, I'm more interested in how much is actually paid in cryptocurrency.
Yeah, most of these things are done exclusively in cryptocurrency, only because payments in Canadian dollars and U.S. dollars is quite cumbersome.
Okay. So where are we at? Can we...
Just a summary?
Well, I would like to know whether you're going to go out with this notice, because obviously then I've got to be prepared from a communications point of view. This was not our intention. Our intention is to find out more about your offering.
Yeah, we can echo that. And so we can, I think it's okay that we take that last sentence off of the first paragraph.
Well, Chris, I think the OSC is asking whether we need a notice at all.
Yeah, I think that they're saying that there's no reason for the suspension at this point, and
well,
and I would encourage you to get the legal analysis to us.
Yeah, right? Like we've already closed the site. I haven't gotten any inquiries yet, but they're coming. We have hundreds of visitors to the site every day, and they're going to notice that it's closed when it should be open.
Well, Chris...
Then your notice needs to reflect that you made a business decision based on the fact that this is a new area and you're working with us, but it can't be that we've been talking about this ICO for months and there's, I think it's more the fact that we need to provide some information, and when we do, we'll open back up. I think that's a different message than what's there currently.
Just to echo that it's not pending further clarification and guidance from the Canadian securities regulators. It's pending further discussions based on a legal analysis that we understand hasn't been done in relation to Equibit specifically. So at the end of the day, it is going to be how comfortable you are with the fact that it's not a security and whether you're comfortable proceeding with the offering. But it's like we can't comment on whether you should or should not, but you guys have done the thinking around whether or not you think securities laws are implicated. So it's your comfort level.
Okay. I think, Chris, do you want to have a discussion quickly, and then we'll get back to Pat and Amy in a little bit?
Yeah, sure. That's fine. Does that work with you, Tim?
Okay.
Yeah, it does. I actually have...
So I'm clarifying our position because I'm speaking on behalf of Launchpad.
Right.
Obviously, our intention is not to be here as OSC enforcement. It's to be working with novel businesses. So we just, as I said, ask questions, and we're looking forward to a legal analysis, and happy to work with you in terms of what would need to be built in if it was determined that it is a security.
Okay.
Okay.
Just.
Great. Thank you very much.
Sorry, can I ask just one question? I understand it's not enforcement, but you keep referring to the fact that you were alerted to our coin offering as if you're responding.
No, it came to our attention that you're raising funds.
Was that as a result?
that.
Was that as a result of a complaint of some kind?
I mean, I can't talk to that, but again, that's not the purpose of our call. It's Launchpad calling. It's not enforcement calling.
Okay, I'm just trying to put other.
We had a discussion with you. We heard about this. We thought it was worth a discussion.
Okay.
I mean, I guess.
Yeah, no, I think we understand, Pat. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
We'll get back to you shortly.
Okay, have a good weekend.
You too.
Bye.
All right,
Bye.
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 Bye.